Hey everyone, today we're going to pull back the curtain on something you might not have thought much about, the world of beauty education. We're going to dig into why getting a cosmetology license can cost a small fortune, and then we'll look at a pretty radical new way some folks are promising a completely debt-free degree.
So let's get right into it. So let's kick things off with a number that should really make you stop and think. 45%. According to our source material, that's how much extra you could be paying for beauty school. And listen, we're not talking about paying for a better education or fancier equipment. Nope. This is for administrative overhead and marketing. It's like a hidden surcharge that is quietly fueling this massive cycle of student debt. And this high cost, well, it creates what the source calls a cycle of fear. You can probably imagine it, right? It's that feeling, that anxiety that builds up when a student's dream of having this awesome creative career smacks right into the very high, very real price of tuition. And just to put a number on it, we're talking about an average cost of up to $25,000 for a full cosmetology program. That's a huge financial hurdle for anyone, especially when you're just starting out in your career. So, how does that initial price tag spiral so far out of control? Well, this slide right here tells a really powerful story, visually. That red line, that's the standard path. That's a student using federal aid, and you can just see their debt skyrockets over time. Now compare that to the blue line. That's a direct pay model where the debt actually goes down and hits zero by the time you graduate. I mean, the difference is it's stark. This quote from the source really nails the emotional weight of that red line. You have students who are totally caught between their passion and this incredibly harsh economic reality. This is the very heart of that cycle of fear we just talked about. So, where is all this extra money actually going? Okay, now let's break down what the research calls the two hidden taxes that are inflating tuition. This is the secret surcharge that students are paying a lot of times without even realizing it. This chart does a fantastic job of laying out the problem. As you can see, only about 55% of your tuition might actually go towards your, direct education. The other 45%, that gets split between administrative compliance, which is basically just paperwork, and something called glamour marketing. Let's define what those actually are. All right, so first up is the compliance tax. This accounts for a whopping 25 to 35% of your tuition. It pays for the school's bureaucracy to manage the federal student aid, or FAFSA system. Just think about that for a second. You're paying thousands of dollars just so the school can handle the paperwork for your loan. But here's the real kicker, the glamour tax. This can be up to 45% of the total cost, and it's all about marketing. This is what pays for those slick TV ads, the recruiters, and those huge flashy hair shows you see. In short, the students are literally footing the bill for the school's own advertising budget. And the consequences of this system, they can be really severe. One practice that the research highlights is something called transcript ransom. So schools that rely on federal aid often push students to take out these high-interest private loans to cover the gap. If a student falls behind on those payments, the school can literally withhold their official transcripts, trapping them. They can't graduate and they can't transfer. They're just stuck. It's a pretty bleak picture, right? But what if there was another way? Let's take a look at a new model that operates on one simple but really radical idea: just decoupling from the entire federal aid system altogether. This slide here just lays it out perfectly. You've got the FAFSA path, which relies on federal aid, which in turn inflates tuition with all those hidden taxes, leading to tons of debt. Then you have the direct path, which is being pioneered by schools like the Louisville Beauty Academy. They just opt out. And by doing that, they eliminate those taxes, making debt-free graduation a real possibility. And here's the proof. Just take a second and look at these numbers. By decoupling, the Louisville Beauty Academy can offer a cosmetology program for around $6,200. That's a 70% savings compared to the old model. And the savings for nail technology and aesthetics, they're just as dramatic. This isn't just a small discount, it's a complete game changer for the economics of education. So what's the secret? It all comes down to this one single strategic decision. By choosing not to accept any federal aid, the school completely sidesteps that expensive, time-consuming bureaucracy of the compliance tax. They just remove that cost from the equation entirely. So how does this actually work in practice? Let's look at what the source material calls a certainty engine. It's a blueprint for giving students stability and a clear path to getting their license, which is especially important in an uncertain economy. It really boils down to three simple steps.
First, you cut the formalities. Get rid of that 35% administrative cost by just opting out of the federal aid system. Second, no more glamour tax. The focus is on education, not on expensive marketing. And third, and this is the best part, you pass 100% of those savings directly on to the student.
And this is the result, a certainty engine. It's brilliant. It takes working-class learners as the input, runs them through an affordable, state-licensed program, and what comes out the other end? Licensed professionals with jobs and even small businesses. By cutting down the cost and time, the risk to the student is just dramatically reduced.
This whole engine runs on 3 pillars of certainty. First, you get certainty of price. What you see is what you pay. No hidden fees, no compounding interest. Second, you get certainty of purpose. The curriculum is laser-focused on one thing and one thing only, passing the state board exam. And finally, the big one, debt-free graduation. All thanks to a simple pay-as-you-go plan, you graduate with a zero balance, period.
And all this brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought. Yeah, this explainer focused on beauty school, but this model of stripping away all the administrative bloat and the marketing costs to bring prices way down, that's a powerful idea. It really forces us to ask, where else in our lives are we unknowingly paying a glamour tax instead of just paying for actual value? Something to think about.